In 1215, England's King John was doing a lousy job, so some powerful nobles forced him to sign the Great Charter. Magna Carta guarantees Britain's various rights to due process, including trial by jury. But that was Clause 39. Clause 35 demanded something else, that the King specifies standard weights and measures. Why would anyone care about that? Well, without properly enforced standard weights and measures, people didn't know how much grain they were buying. That's pretty important to know if you're a medieval merchant or a simple villager. But something else was important too. The king needed to make sure that these kinds of standards applied to all sellers. That way, all buyers would get the same information so they could compare sellers on a level playing field. That makes the standards a public good. Remember how private and public goods complement each other in building our world? How cars aren't much use without roads, and roads aren't much use without cars. This illustrates our first rule of life. The world is an ecology of private and shared purposes. We drive cars for our own private purposes, but they're no use without roads, which have been built for us all to share so we can achieve those private purposes. Without both, you can't have either. Well, in this new context, it's not cars and roads that are the private and public goods, but products and information. The market might serve up private products for us to choose from, like these cars, but all that choice about what private good to buy isn't much use without the public good of accurate information about what each one is like. Yet today we're in need of a new Magna Carta, because throughout our world the public good of information is compromised again and again by private interest. Our video on legal procedure mentioned the way experts can be believed in European courts because they're independently chosen by the judge. We compared that with English-speaking courts where each side calls their own expert. And because each side's selection is biased in their own favour, we never know which of the dueling experts to believe. Now, auditors play a similar role to experts in a court. They help us work through something complex to get to the truth. But private auditors are chosen the same way experts are chosen in an English court. Amazingly, they're chosen by the very companies they're auditing. That's like grain sellers in King John's time checking their own weights. The auditors might not break the law, but they'll bend it if they can to help those paying their bill, the very firms they're auditing. Little by little, practices such as these tilt the playing field in favour of the powerful, the wealthy, and financial insiders. It's a principal means by which they prey on the outsiders and the weak. This is our second rule of life in action. Where private and shared purposes reinforce each other, their ecology is healthy. Where they undermine each other, that ecology becomes unhealthy, an engine of oligarchy. And if you pay attention, you can see this pattern repeating itself again and again throughout our economy and our society. By understanding it, we can start the process of putting it right. We'll continue the story in our next video.